Hi, this is a review of the Maglite XL200. Now, I'll be honest, I've been wanting to do a review of this for some time. In fact, I've been wanting to own one of these for some time. But in the UK, they're kind of rare and rather pricey. So it wasn't until somebody bought one for my birthday recently that I've had opportunity to do this review. So, all of us know Maglites. The XL range, maybe less so. I know the XL50 has got a certain following and is easier to buy, especially in the United States, but in the UK this range of lights is quite rare. Now the XL200, it's been about for a few years now, and the big thing is it has a motion control on it. So let's start at the beginning. Let's get the things that people worry about out of the way and the bad things. Yes, it runs on AAA's. Yes, it's got an outdated emitter. It's got a plastic lens. It's only 172 lumens. Right, big deal. Honestly, couldn't care less about any of that. So, what about the actual light? Well, let's start at the beginning. It is a great size. You know, if you're used to sort of normal D cell, C cell or AA lights, this is actually a nice compact light. You know, some people think it's going to be big because it's a AAA. It uses 3 of them, but it isn't. Here's one of my regular EDC lights. You'll probably recognise this. This is a Convoy S2, very popular light, 18650. And look, there really is very little size difference in it. And one thing this has got, that's a big advantage, is weight. It weighs almost nothing. I wouldn't say it's half the weight of the Convoy, but you know, it's got to be in that sort of ballpark. It is much lighter. You know, so it's a big plus. It doesn't come with a clip, sadly, or at least none of the kits in the UK do. The Magtac clip does actually fit it. I have one of those on order, but I haven't been able to get hold of one yet. Right, so the AAA batteries, yeah, everybody moans about them, and often with due cause, but you've got to remember, this is a different type of light. It's aimed at a different audience. So it has a standard carrier, and yes, I'm running it on alkalines. These are the batteries that actually came with the light. I've been EDCing this light now for 2 weeks. That's used every single day, multiple times. I couldn't count how long the run time is that I've been using it, and they still work. Might not be quite as bright as it was when the batteries were fresh, but it doesn't seem a whole lot dimmer either. I'll come back to performance in a bit because there's quite a lot to say about that. And here's the tail cap. It has the positive and the negative terminals on here, so I assume the electronic switch has got the driver in there for the different modes as well, and probably the motion control section. So, general fit and finish, usual mag standards, very high. All the threads are really super smooth, everything looks fantastically machined, there's no sharp edges on it. It's a nice, solid, well-built light. Plastic lens, to be honest, doesn't bother me. Don't know why it bothers so many other people. It hasn't scratched or scuffed in 2 weeks, and this has been carried in my pocket and been used quite heavily. You know, I don't have a problem with the plastic lens on there. It seems to work fine. Now Maglite do claim this has got a focusable beam like their other lights, and yes, to be fair, you can unscrew the bezel, but unlike some of their other light systems where, you know, traditionally it moved the bulb in and out of the actual reflector, this just seems to move the reflector away from the LED, so you know, you sort of get less than 1/8 of a turn and it just defocuses it completely, and you get a massive drop in output and quite an ugly beam. I'd recommend you just keep it tightly, you know, keep the bezel tight down, and that way you actually get a really nice beam. It's a smooth reflector, so you do get a very noticeable hot spot and then the spill beam on the outside, but it's good. It's a good beam, no complaints at all there. One thing Maglite don't advertise that is quite a nice feature is you can actually remove this all the way, and you can then use it as a mule light, which I actually find is a really handy feature. So Maglite claim it as a 5-mode light, and it's done by the tail switch. Now, before we get onto the modes, let's just talk about the switch for a little bit. Firstly, it tail stands very easily, very stable, no problems there. The switch is also recessed, so it's very hard to accidentally activate it, but because of the size of the switch, it's really easy to actually deliberately activate it, and it works so much better than many of the other switches on other lights. And the feel of this switch has to be about the best feel on any light I've ever owned. It really is a superb switch. And it's also very quiet. I don't know if you can hear it on the video. Just has a very soft click. Compare that to the Convoy, and people who have read my reviews before know that I love these lights and rave about the switches on the Convoy. But the switch is much noisier, and I've got lights with even louder clicks. And if you're using the light at night and you're trying not to disturb people, you know, a clicking switch or a loud clicking switch can be quite annoying. So onto the modes. The Maglite, one click turns it on, another to turn it off. Super easy. If you do 2 clicks, it goes into the strobe mode. All the modes are written on the outside of the bezel, so you haven't got to try and remember what they are. It has got an inbuilt instruction manual, if you like. So it's got the strobe. The third one is kind of funky. It's what Maglite call a night light, and as you can see, if I don't move the light, it dims down, and as soon as you move the light, it goes back bright again. Could be really handy if you're out camping. You know, maybe you want to put the light down but you don't want to lose it, so you can leave it in this mode and it'll go into its low mode and then as soon as you pick it up, it's bright again. 4 clicks takes it into what they call signal mode. And basically, when you move the light, it activates. So you can use this for doing proper Morse code, you know, so you can do short flashes, we can do a long flash, which is something quite rare on a modern flashlight these days. Most of them, if you turn them on and off to try and do any sort of SOS or, you know, Morse code yourself, if you actually know Morse code, you just cycle through the modes. And the last mode, mode number 5, actually is a pre-built SOS mode, so you haven't got to actually remember what SOS is, although it's rather easy. But that's not really the core features of this. It's what I like about it is the motion sensor on how you actually change the brightness. So you do 1 click to turn it on and hold, and then you just simply rotate the light. It's a bit like using a dimmer switch, and it is really super easy to do, super intuitive, and it's really very nice. The low mode is also very good on this. It's not quite a sublumin moonlight mode or firefly that, you know, we tend to call as a proper moonlight, but it is a decently low output level, and I've certainly got premium lights that claim to do a moonlight that are far brighter than this on the low mode, so I have no problem with that. One thing you might notice, and the camera is probably picking this up worse than you actually see it in real life, it does use PWM. On high output you don't notice it at all. On low output it is there, you can detect it, but I've owned lights that have been far worse. You know, and if you frequent any of the forums like Budget Light Forum, you know that we've built some absolutely fantastic lights that do use PWM drivers, so you know, don't be put off by that. I say it just is super easy to use, and it's nice because you do have such a wide degree of output modes as well you can use. And while we're on this subject, you can see the beam is really nice, and 172 lumens. To be honest, if Maglite had told me this has got 300 lumens, I'd believe them. It is really good light. Outside, the relatively large reflector gives it a really good beam. It throws well. You don't feel shortchanged in output. If you're ceiling bouncing it inside, yeah, okay, it's not going to light the room up as well as something pumping out a lot more lumens, but you know, actually using it, you don't feel shortchanged. I've got XML2 EDC lights that pump out, you know, in excess of 700 lumens, and you just don't feel shortchanged when you use this. You know, which again I think is a testament to actually how good the light really is. Another nice thing with the motion control is the brightness setting you set also follows through to the other modes. So if we just turn it down a bit, so if we go on to the strobe, so 2 clicks, and if I hold, you can actually adjust the speed of the strobe. So if you want it for, you know, defense purposes, that's fine, but actually you can lower it all the way down and you can use it as a beacon mode. And because you can lower the brightness as well, it makes it appropriate to use it, you know, if you ride a push bike, because obviously you don't want maximum output, because there's no need to blind oncoming cars. You don't want them driving into you because they can't see because they've been dazzled. But you know, you can lower the output down and turn it into a beacon light. I don't know of any other lights that have got this type of functionality on them and versatility. So just want to give you a few more comparisons on this light. You know, if you're buying from sort of hardware store or a high street shop, be it the UK or even the USA, another big brand you're going to come across is LED Lenser. Now, I haven't actually got a LED Lenser, but what I do have is something called a Poplight T34, which for all intensive purposes is a LED Lenser P7. This one uses a different emitter. It's not quite as powerful as the current P7.2 LED Lenser. I think this one's rated at about 220 lumens, but it's a very, very similar light, and I suspect probably came from the same factory. Build quality on it is very good. This one uses 4 AAA batteries. Now this is really why I wanted to show the difference. It is a much bigger light and it is much heavier than the Maglite. You know, I like this Poplight or LED Lenser. They're good lights, you know, if you like the zooming function, but this wants a holster or a coat pocket. This I'll carry with me. It'll go in my jeans pocket. I can fit an iPhone 6 Plus and this torch in there, and it's perfectly comfortable to carry every day, which is what I've done for over 2 weeks now. And as you can see, it's holding up really, really well. So, you know, if you want something more compact than a P7, the XL200 is one to look at. Another comparison is a mini Maglite. This is one I actually bought while I was on holiday in Florida. This is I think it's a Mini Mag Pro. It's a 245 lumen rated one. But as many people know, the Mini Maglites aren't really quite so mini these days. The head on them has got very, very long. And if you actually take a look against the XL, you can see the actual bezel size is pretty similar size, but it's got a smaller reflector in there. Maybe a little bit deeper, but it's certainly not as wide. But the real killer is the fact that it's so much longer than the XL series light. You know, it's a third longer. So this one, I don't EDC this, not ever. It's too big. This one, yeah, definitely. It's a good light. Also, the fact this is rated at 245 lumens, I'll be honest, if you shine these side by side, I can't tell the difference between them. There really is not a lot in it. So tint, yeah, it's a cool white light. There's no getting away from it. You know, Maglite don't do anything in the neutral white or the warm tint, but to be honest, it's alright. It's not a nasty cool white. It's perfectly fine to use. I use the light indoors, outdoors, in the garden, across the fields. It's been absolutely fine. You know, I can live with it. If I can live with it, I'm sure other people can as well. But I say it is just genuinely a very, very nice light, and I'm impressed with the run times. I say I've been EDCing this for 2 weeks now, and it's still on the original batteries, and they're not ready for changing yet. Now, I'm not a fan of alkalines. Don't think any of us are, and I will be switching to use Eneloops, you know, once these batteries are run out. But the fact it's lasted 2 weeks and I haven't had to replace the batteries is pretty good going. I know when these lights came out, everybody said, oh, why isn't it a single AA? Well, I'll be honest, I have single AA lights. I have 14500 lights. They last me 3-5 days maybe. The AA's perhaps 6 days before the battery's dead. You know, even an 18650 light, I'm usually changing the battery out on those every 10 to 15 days. So, you know, this is giving me the same sort of duration of use as an 18650 light. Albeit, on paper, claiming to be lower output. But as I say, just do not feel shortchanged by it. I'm perfectly happy using it. and when the pocket clip arrives, I will probably keep on EDCing it for a while. You know, it definitely ranks up there as quite a surprising light. I always thought it would be quite nice and just underpowered, but you know, I haven't found that to be the case. And I have a reasonable range of lights to choose from. Probably got about 50 different lights sitting on the shelf behind me. So I do have plenty of choice, and it is a good light. If you haven't got one of these, even for the novelty factor, you know, you should consider it. You know, it is a worthy light to own. That's probably about it. There's probably not much else to sort of say on it. Compare it to the Convoy again. So as some of you might have noticed earlier, this one's not exactly a standard Convoy. But even comparing to a non-standard Convoy, I think this one's got a, I think it's a Nisha in there, and a Tier optic, and a 4-mode Q-Light driver in it. Built it quite a while ago, I can't remember exactly what it is. You know, the XL still stacks up as being a good light by comparison. And the biggest thing, again, it's got to be the weight difference between them. Not that it really matters so much once they're in your pocket, but you know, when you're actually handling the lights, you really do notice there's a weight difference between them.